Welcome to the next episode of Discipline, Desire, Dedication. My name is Dakota Lang, along co-host Garrett Cotten. Today we're going to talk about, just simply getting back to the basics. It's something that we have to remind ourselves all the time, especially when you do something over and over and over again. It's easy to make it super complicated.
Yep.
So just making sure that you always go back to the basics in sales and in life. So, yeah, one thing that I always try to remind myself is just remember what I came from. Don't make it too hard on myself and just keep it simple.
Yeah.
What you think?
Yeah, no, I mean 100%. I guess the first relation that I'll have is, talking about the job that we're in. Anytime that, the way to maintain growth is just replicating what's been working. So, as people come into our company, like for me, whenever I came in, all I did was put my head down, grind, and then trust of what I needed to do. But as far as getting back to the basics, anytime that I would sniff a slump or, or anything coming for myself, it would always go back to I need to get a recruit, because when I get a recruit, then I have to show this person how to do everything that I did from day one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a cheat code for me, because that's my way of holding myself accountable, is I have to do it for somebody else, because I lie to myself all the time. It's completely normal for us to lie to ourselves. But whenever I've got you in my house and I've got to show you how to change your life, I got to live that example. So yeah, I think getting back to the basics and habits and what has helped us to change our lives, that's how we continue to change our lives in what we're doing.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think I believe it's just just like I don't know. I kind of want to tie this into just like your day to day life. How do you get your day to day life back to the basics? Like, what are some things that like you do specifically?
Well, as far as like, in my opinion, what I'm striving for in life is financial freedom, fitness, your health, your relationship, family, relationship with God. Like I'm trying to be good in all of those aspects, and going back to the basics is like, for instance, if I feel like I need a little bit of help from God, go to church.
Yep.
Just reset your day on Sunday. Just be like, all right, remember, Sunday's the Sabbath. Just go to church on Sunday. It's going to
Yep.
open up so many more doors just by showing up that one day. Now it's going to give you more vision. On that same topic, it's kind of going in with, with fitness.
Mm.
Back to the basics. It's like, Garrett, just go run.
Yeah. Go take a
Just put
walk.
on the shoes and go run.
Yeah.
You make all these excuses, oh, the weather, and then it's so windy outside, I'd probably need a jacket. And then I probably, and that goes through your head,
Yep.
and you're overcomplicating. It's like, maybe if I just bought a treadmill, then I
Yep.
get
Yeah.
where
Been
it's
there.
like, dude, just get on, just put the shoes on, walk outside, and just do it.
Yep.
So
Or as simply as just like, set an alarm and wake up when the alarm goes off. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
it's
Just,
a discipline, I guess.
yeah. You know what I mean? Just getting back to the basics of, I think that's a very, you know, elaborate topic, because when you think about just like in day to day life, like what are some things that I do just to remind myself to just keep it simple is, especially with like coaching people, and especially in business, because like I said, when you do something over and over and over again,
Mhm.
you can make it way more complex than it needs to be.
Yeah.
That's why we always, in performance, we stick to the three keys to success as a knocker. One, 100% on script. Two, 50 conversations with decision makers slash homeowners.
Yep.
And then three, swag, right? So if you're over here thinking about how do I overcome an objection, or how do I air out a smoke screen, or how do I need to be standing on the door, it's like, dude, just stand there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think why do you think that people start making it way more complex as they do something?
Well, straight out of our book, we always talk about slump busting is people, they find success doing what we tell them to do or doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then they get this mindset that they're the reason that they've had success, not the system. And so they change the things that they were doing, allowing them to have success, and then wondering why the results aren't the same. So um I guess people, once they see success, they stop doing the thing. They, instead of going back to the basics, they overcomplicate the job, trying to become a professional. Whereas the reality of it,
Uncontrollables.
yeah, it's uncontrollables. And, they start talking about the hood and then the foreigners, and then they start talking about the weather, and then, all the other things in life. And I think they just overcomplicate the job, where if you simplify it, that's like we talk about our script. Anything excess of the script is bad. Like we don't need, like I ran a whole meeting in Seattle this week that was like, I have a cheat code. The cheat code is I would just reuse that line from the script when the homeowner didn't understand the urgency. Now, I don't think of anything myself. I just say, like I said, as a marketing team, we set up 5 or 6 appointments, and that's my way of expressing to the homeowner the urgency, and I can say it in a different tonality with more emphasis to get my point across. But as far as my point is that the basics is the script, but most people think like, oh, I've got to say all these words and talk about all the urgency stuff and how the spots are going to be filled and you're going to need to reserve a spot. And they think they need to overcomplicate it for the homeowner to understand, whereas less is more. Like if we can just dumb it down to like a toddler level. Well, like I said before, we set 5 or 6 appointments and only go with the first 2, simple as that. And that's where we'll see, you see the success is when you don't know anything.
Right. And I think that's just like in any business, even with the podcast here, we have a buttload of ideas that we think of and we're like, oh man, we could do this, do that. But the biggest thing is you just get back to the basics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't overcomplicate it. Don't look for fast gratification. You know what I mean? Just stick to basics and results will follow.
Yeah. It's kind of like working out. Working out is a good example of that. You go to the gym and then you start, when you first time to go to the gym, I always like talking about the first time you walk in the gym after 6 months or 6 years of not going to the gym. And your first day is a little bit awkward. You're like, oh, I'm going to do bench press. And then you see people are on the bench press and you're like, actually, I'm doing legs today. So it's like there's no confidence in it. But then we have, you get a personal trainer, you get like an app that gives you a workout plan. You walk in there and you're confident in what you do. And then I think we lose that discipline of going and showing up. And then we got to relearn the basics of it again. Relearn the showing up. I think that's probably the biggest one is just showing up and doing it, just making yourself do that. We don't hold ourselves accountable to it until we see the big goal. I think we hold ourselves to the basics until we see a little bit of it. And then we stop doing those things.
Yeah.
Kind of like a double-edged sword.
Yeah. It always goes to don't stop doing the things that got you to where you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just keep it simple.
Yeah. In our industry, that's like I preach it to everybody. I'm like, if you ain't doing nothing, get somebody in your house.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. So like in door-to-door sales, that's what we're in. So, for a knocker going out there and just knocking, let's talk about controllables. Mm-hmm. Right? Because that kind of goes in line with basics. What are some controllables that you think, and we can always revert to performance, but just as a door knocker in general for the whole industry, what do you think are some like basic stuff that people can do?
Oh, controllable. I always come back to habits. I mean, we can control your daily habits. It's like implementing non-negotiables into your daily habits is what's going to control, because there's got to be some level of consistency. Mm-hmm. And so that consistency, I'm a firm believer of when you get in a consistent habit of accomplishing the task you've given yourself, that's where confidence comes from. It's like I told
small task.
I'm gonna get out of bed at 5 on the first alarm. When you do that, it's like, all right, I already one down. Just got to keep on moving. And then all right, I got to get in the car and I got to be on the road by 5:40. I got to be on the road. And the second one, all right, 2 down. And then you listen to your Audible or something on the way to the gym. That's 3 down. And then you did the workout. That's 4 down. And then you go home, you take a cold shower. That's 5 down. And you get in this routine. And keep in mind, everything that I've said is done before 7 a.m., from 5 to 7. And you've already accomplished these things. And so I think that as far as like in any industry, if you're that knocker that's got controllables that you are consistently hitting on a day-to-day basis, that's what's going to correlate with your sales as well. You're going to start saying, hey, my goal is 4 sets today. I've already done all this other stuff. I'm about to hit 4 sets today because I'm in a habit of doing what I say I'm going to go do.
Yep. And I think some controllables that are very effective, to give context here is like when you get to hood? Are you sitting in the car for 10 to 15?
I
Are you
gotta jump.
Yeah, I got to.
My stomach starts boiling. I'm like, oh, well, let me go to the Maverick real quick.
Yeah, exactly. Or I've been this person. I'm guilty of it as well, but I'm just telling you that if you do it, it's going to bite you in the long run. But don't be the knocker that gets to hood and it's, 10:54 and you're like, all right, I'm going to get out at 11. I'm going to give me 6 minutes, right? You've lost.
Already lost.
You count down 6 minutes when in reality, get to hood and just commit to, hey, as soon as I pull up to my parking spot, I'm killing my car and I'm stepping out of it.
Yep.
Whenever I was qualifying, I wouldn't even let myself sit in the car on break. I wouldn't let myself get in the air condition. I qualified
July. Danger zone. Yeah, the car is a danger zone.
Yeah,
you get in the car and you're like, I could just put it in drive.
Let
me just drive around the block.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go park on the other side of the neighborhood. And,
yeah,
you can't allow yourself.
Let me go check out that neighborhood.
Yeah, see what this knocker's doing. I'm gonna go pull up on him. No, I'm the same way. If I pull up in hood, I gotta throw it in park and get out of the car and start walking. Even if I'm not walking to a door. I'm walking to get eventually I'm gonna have to hit one of these.
Yeah, getting your mindset rolling, I think that's crucial. What are some other basic things that people can do to help elevate their results?
I think what we teach everybody is as far as what you listen to on the way to hood. Most people want to listen to music because you feel good.
Yep.
Right? It's like, oh, I love that song. I can sing along to it. I'm gonna have a good day. But as far as myself and what I've seen is when I have people that are obsessed with a sales book or a sales podcast on the way to hood, those are the ones that are producing because they're getting value. They're getting knowledge and something that's applicable on the doors instead of just, I feel good. Feel good is motivation. Discipline is playing a system, going out there and using the tactics that I just learned on that book.
Right. Yeah. I agree with you. First of all, I think audiobooks are amazing. But me personally, there was days that I would listen to audiobooks and there was also days that I would listen to music. And you thought I'd be auditioning for American Idol if you was riding in my car. You know what I mean? Because I always had whenever I was going to hood, I had the thought process of think about a singer, professional singer. You know what I mean? Before they get on that stage, guess what? They backstage warming up them vocals.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Warming up, singing some tunes, making sure that when they get on stage, their voice is not cracking.
Yeah.
So there would be days that I would turn on the music, boy, I'd be jamming the hood. That way when I get on, my voice is already warm. I'm ready.
Yeah, I've been talking. I like to say I like to warm up that talking box,
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah. And then also some other controllables. I really like that. I think that I want to give the audience some, especially in the door-to-door industry, some specific things that they can implement in their day-to-day life, that is basic,
the easiest one, it's vague, but it's easy, is choosing hard.
Yeah.
Like for me, anytime I'm handed with two decisions, if you just choose the hard one every time, then life becomes so much easier. In any aspect. It's wake up or sleep late. Wake up, go to sleep early or go to sleep late. Go to sleep early. It's actually harder to get in bed early. TV or no TV, music or Audible.
Yep.
Audible's harder, Get out of the car, sit in the car for 6 minutes. Get out of the car, When you just
get to the office early or get there right on time.
Yep, it's hard to get there early, being the first one to your workout, So it's just, even though it's so vague, it's just choose hard. That is one thing that if you can just get your whole mind behind that mantra of, I'm going to do the hard things in life, because in sales is hard. So if your life is harder than your work, then the work is actually really easy. I'm a firm believer of that. So choosing hard is probably the biggest vague thing. But on that same topic, cold plunges, a cold plunge. Me and you both know those days when we're doing cold showers, cold plunge or whatever. Those days, you start your day off and it's like an adrenaline dump all day long. We just feel dialed, because I'm hard as a motherfucker. I've done this. I did it. And so I mean, cold plunges is that's probably one of my favorite ones to do, is the cold plunge.
Yeah.
What's something else that looks like a midday something that's controllable for a knocker?
I would say like we use zero in our organization.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, something that you can always do is when you have shift, make it a non-negotiable that, hey, I'm listening to 2 to 3 zeros, right? Regardless if I had success or if I didn't have success.
Oh, on the topic of that lunch break reset of like a thing, eating with top performers. Like
Mhm.
no, don't go and eat with the guys that you like to hang out with in the office or like you like in your room. Go try and rub elbows with the people who are producing, because those guys, I promise you, you ever notice it's like a clique, it's like the cool table of people who are producing. But we still have people in our offices that want to go eat lunch by themselves. They want to go save money and go box their lunch up and go eat at the park or something.
Yeah.
Whereas in the reality, the proximity of being around those people who produce is only going to allow you to produce as well. It's hard. It's choose hard. Is it harder to eat lunch by yourself and not spend any money, or is it harder to go and rub elbows with people who are big dogs in this company?
Yep. Yeah, and on the topic of lunch, I think this is very important for our listeners. Is that if you're taking a lunch break, you know what I mean. Don't go get you some big old ribeye and a big old sweet baked potato and get you a good old ice cream dessert.
Something you need a nap after.
Yeah, something you need to nap after. I think that's super important. Get something light, get something simple, something that you can just eat real quick and then get back to it. Because me personally, I know that in our organization, we have, a couple hour break that you're allowed to do. Me, whenever I was qualifying, I didn't use that full time. I took something light and then I got back to the doors, because I wasn't going to allow myself to be average. That was why I got into sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I agree. So yeah, I mean, and we can kind of transition a little bit too. I mean, we've been talking a lot about door to door, but even on the topic of like a relationship, what happens when your relationship starts going bad? What do you do?
you got to get back to basics.
Yeah, date night.
Date night,
Yeah.
simple stuff.
I feel like the easiest, I can write a love letter.
Yeah.
It's like, and it could be, hey, I love you so much. You're so amazing. Can't live life without you. But
Yeah.
that one little a handwritten note.
Yep. Or just get a little thing of flowers.
That's it. Something super basic just to get that spark coming back.
Yep. You don't have to go to a 5-star restaurant and go drop $500 on a meal.
Or plan a trip. A lot of people think you need to plan a trip to Mexico and that's how you're going to re-spark your marriage. No, it starts with just like doing it.
Simple stuff.
Yeah, surprise.
The thought.
Yeah, like even Caitlin, I got her some diamond stud earrings in Seattle this week. I was just like, I was walking through the mall and I was like, let me get her something, But now I got her all hyped up. Now she's back in love with me. But it's stuff like that, little surprises and stuff. Just let them know you're thinking about them, But it's back to the basics, That's how you got them from the beginning is you showed them attention.
Yep.
Right? And then whenever we lose them a little bit, it's because our attention is on something else.
Yep.
So it's just got to get back to that.
Yeah, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Let's talk about some things. So we talked about, going to hood, after your lunch break. Let's talk about, when you get home. What are some basic things that people can do to help see better results?
Mm-hmm. And I would say when I first came in, I think it is crucial to listen to your own zeros, but I think it's more crucial to listen to the zero of somebody who has success. Imagine if I went out there and bagel today, and then you go out there and you get a same day close. If I go home and listen to my zeros, what value am I gaining?
0.
But if I go home and I'm like, well, what did Dakota say? I'm going to go listen to Dakota's zero, and I'm going to do whatever the fuck he said. I'm going to say that on mine tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now we have some value, So I think in your evenings, you need to be listening to the people who are getting paid, people who are doing. It's kind of like professional golfers watch the top golfers in the world. They're not going and watching a mediocre golfer. So it's same thing with us. If you want to be the top 1%, learn from the best. So I think you got to study. It's kind of like school. If you don't study in school, you're not really learning.
Yeah.
So I think that's important, but I think more important is the habit of the routine.
Yep.
Having that routine of house taken care of, check your list of closed, all that stuff's done, dinners at a certain time, in bed by a certain time.
In bed by a certain time, I think that's crucial because I think when people don't really realize the value of sleep. You know what I mean?
Just
sleep.
Like Jeff Bezos. He's one of the richest dudes in the world, and they talk about he's got a strict routine from like 7 a.m. until 10 a.m. He doesn't take a single call. He don't talk to nobody. He's got like a very, very strict routine. And then he only works from like 10:30 until 1. Right? Because the problems that he's solving are so big. You know, he's the owner of Amazon.
Right.
That he wants to be as sharp as possible. He wants to have clear mind, but a good thought process. And you know, and the same thing in the sales world, if you're not sharp, you're not going to be able to rebuttal objections. If you're not prepared, you're not going to have good energy, right? And that's so important. Even as a market owner, as regionals, you know, imagine if, like for me, I personally will not travel late at night because I know I'm gonna have a little bit of sleep and I'm gonna have to wake up early and do my routine.
Right, lag.
And whereas so I'm gonna get there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, get my groceries taken care of. I'm gonna go get some water bottles, make sure everything's set in the hotel room, and I'm gonna be bed at by 8 o'clock. Sometimes I'll take a little sleeping pill and knock out so that I have good sleep and I'm fully prepared for the meeting the next day.
Yeah. I think routine is super important, you know, just in day-to-day life, especially sales, like you said, just to make sure that you are staying sharp.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, your mindset is 90% of the job. So if you're tired, I mean, we used to experience it whenever we'd go out in the bars and stuff like that, and you go drink. And what happens when you hungover? Are you sharp?
No.
No, I'm not worth a damn when I'm hungover. You know, so and the reality is that you just can't do that kind of stuff. We have to do everything to ensure that we're at the sharpest possible mental state.
Right. Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I think that, dude, the value of sleep is super important. You know what I mean? Have a strict routine. Back to basics. You know what I mean?
Sleep is basic, you know?
Yeah.
Whenever
everybody loves sleep. I don't want to hear that shit.
Yeah.
You know
everybody needs sleep.
Yeah.
Whenever we're tired, there's nobody that's, you know, running on 2 hours of sleep that's in a good mindset.
No.
You
You're
know?
laggish, your brain's foggy. You know, make sure you're you know, stick to basics. You know, stick to basic, good sleep schedule. Don't eat, like I said, don't eat just 3 Big Macs on your lunch break. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, just stick to basics and be smart about it. And I promise you, when you always revert back to those, that's where you're going to see the better results. It's whenever you start overcomplicating things that I just say you start spiraling.
It just made me think of it because you said, like, don't be eating 3 Big Macs. You know, think about weight loss. You know, people who fluctuate weight up and down real light. When you want to lose weight, what's going back to the basics?
3 meals a day.
You know, don't overeat.
Yeah, don't overeat.
Don't be snacking. You know,
Yep.
For me, every single time I go from like I'll drink Cokes and stuff, and I'll be like, all right, back to the basics, water and coffee only.
Yep.
That's all I can drink. You know, and I start there, and then you go back to the basics of it because when we were doing it, it works. We see a little glimpse of result, and then we fall back into it. But if we can consistently have the basic, it always comes back to just overcomplicating life. You know, life is only as hard as we make it. You know, to make money, it's only as hard as we make it. To get in shape is only as hard as we make it. You know, to have a good relationship, it's only as hard as we make it.
Yep.
So yeah, just keep it simple, and you know, life is actually pretty awesome.
Stick to the basics.
Yep.
But hey, we appreciate all of you watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, as well as follow us on all other platforms. We have many of them. And other than that, we appreciate all the support, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.